Katie. So our first question for you is, we know that you had so many leadership roles in college, including in the sorority that you had joined. I want to speak about those leadership roles. I mean, what did you do in your sorority, and how did those roles help shape the rest of your career moving forward?
Sure. I was ended up being the vice president of social for my sorority, which was a great way to do a few things. One is to just obviously to give back to the sorority, my third and fourth year of college, and be able to create a culture and an environment that I had loved for a couple of years and be able to pass that on to others. The other was that it also was a good role to be in to do outreach to the other sororities, other people across the fraternity council, because we had to, in my job as VP of Social, connect with everybody across the entire Greek system. It was a pretty big Greek system. So it gave me confidence. It gave me opportunity to be a leader when I didn't have, authority. It was about influence, and it was just fun.
So for students and professionals that are trying to apply to corporations such as Microsoft, large corporations, from your perspective, how can these 20-year-olds applying to Microsoft stand out across other applicants?
To be able to interview and to get a job at Microsoft, I think the same rules apply of what I talked about in college, where you join in, you volunteer, you get experience however you can. What I've noticed, I've had a really good opportunity to be part of the interview process for our interns and our college hires and our MBA hires. And what I've noticed that's consistent about them is that they have a variety of experiences already, which is amazing to me at such a young age. But what they did is they volunteered and they created things that fit their passions. They developed programs. They jumped into nonprofits. They created their own nonprofits. They did some amazing things that weren't just their education. And so it showed that they're very well-rounded. They care about the world around them. They put in extra effort when extra effort was not asked of them. And that's what I was always so impressed by. And I think that's a consistent trait that I see in applicants that are successful.
Yeah, it's really just doing more than what you're written on paper to do, and really getting out there and putting your own work into your passions.
Exactly, right. And the attitude too of showing up and just having that gratitude to have opportunities to do new things and different things that aren't being asked for you. You can see that they aren't begrudging anything that they're doing. They're just excited that every experience that they have, whether it's the best one or the not a great one, it's still something that they have gratitude for having because they've learned from it.
For a student who is trying to find a corporation or any company that aligns with their culture, do you have any advice for that kind of student or professional?
What I didn't realize when I was in my 20s is that in an interview process that you're interviewing the company as much as they're interviewing you. And I think that was the thing that I've learned most, is that when I was younger, I should have asked for questions. What I did is I went into interviews trying to convince them that I would be a good person for them to add. Whereas that is part of it. The other part of it is, though, making sure that you want to actually be added to that culture and that corporation. And I think having questions that get a little bit more behind just the work responsibilities is what's really important. I think you can ask many things, anything from how you tell me a story about one you're most proud about managing someone, what's something that you've accomplished that you're super proud of. How is it that you've built your relationships over the years in your network? How do you think about the environment you want to work in? Why are you at this company? What are the most important things to you? So it doesn't have to be something that they are uncomfortable answering, but they're all questions that should be asked, and you shouldn't walk into a company without knowing those things. The most important thing, I think, especially in your 20s, is who you work for, both the environment that you're working in, but also the individual that you're working for, because that person is going to be potentially a lifelong advocate for you. And that's what you need to build up when you're in your 20s. And when you're just starting out, is building people that will be there for you to talk about you to others, to support you, to give you advice, and be your advocate and your biggest cheerleader when you're going for your future moves.
So, Katie, I want to set the scene a little bit. You're starting one of your first post-grad jobs straight out of college. Were you focused more on vertical growth or horizontal growth? So think vertical in the sense where, you're looking for each promotion. And then horizontal, maybe you're okay staying where you're at just to discover more about whether it's that position, different departments. And what would you also recommend students or, recent grads focus on, that vertical or horizontal growth?
It's a great question. I would say that you focus on both, on vertical and horizontal. And I think there's a time and place for both. When I first got out of school, it was about vertical. How is it that I can continue to get more responsibility and move up and make, really quick, fast statement in the business world to be able to be successful long-term, to kind of set that trajectory. But then once I was on that path, I would then look around and say, okay, now that I have, built a reputation of some sort, I've got some experience behind me, what other experiences do I want? And so when you think about it that way, it's not always going to be an upward move, it's going to be a sideways move. And I think back to my career, and I've made 3 distinct kind of left turns in my job that weren't necessarily move up. It was just a move in a different direction, because I had realized the experiences I'd had in going in one direction were all amazing and wonderful and great, but it was time for me then to kind of go on a different path. And so you can't necessarily switch gears and move up at the same time. Sometimes you can. It's very, very rare that happens. And so what I would do is say, okay, this is a sideways move, but it's a whole new set of experiences that I haven't had yet. And so that long term is going to help me with that growth. And I can think of 3 very distinct times that I did that. And I 100% grew from it and was stronger because of it. And so I think it's very situational, and you have to think both ways all the time.
Katie, for our viewers as well, we'd love to hear more about what you're doing with Microsoft currently.
So I feel super fortunate for the roles that I've had at Microsoft. They've all been in marketing. I started out with just a core set of responsibilities around events and decided to expand it. Working first with our partners, so I was face-to-face with partners and customers, kind of on the front lines of the company, which I loved because it made me learn so much about it. But then I decided I needed some experience around product marketing, given we're a product company. And so I got that, which was fantastic as well. It gave me the opportunity to work closer with engineering, to learn more about pricing, licensing, business models for products that I hadn't had before. But I realized I'm not a core product marketer. I really love just broad marketing initiatives. And so there was an opportunity a few months ago, the first day that we were told to shelter in place for COVID, that to do industry marketing. And so we have some major industries that as a company we've prioritized. And so it's the go-to-market strategies for these industries. And so it's all of the kind of the last mile marketing, and how do we connect with customers and partners, manufacturing, financial services, healthcare, all of the larger industries, and building our strategies around that. It's fascinating. It's great, especially during a time of such change, and every industry is transforming considerably. Just in the last 4 months that I've worked there, it's completely different than the day I started.
That's nice that you also feel, you're able to learn every day on the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I encourage, is that anywhere you are in your career, you should always feel like that there is something new that you're learning, or that there's on the horizon, you see something that you can't wait to figure out and to do differently. And so don't, being complacent is probably the hardest place to be in a career. And I encourage anyone that feels that is to look around them and say, what else could I do differently? And going back to that mentality of, can I just jump in and help with something? Can I learn about another project that maybe it's not my project? No matter where you are in your career, just continue to look for those opportunities.
And those are skills that you developed in your 20s. You don't have to be, established, in a career working for a large company. You can do that in any medium. You can really start to get involved, learn new things, push yourself early.
Right.
It's really good to develop those habits early.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, going back to your question about who successfully, can interview and get a job with Microsoft or other companies like ours. I think, to me, what I look for is curiosity. That if somebody is curious and comes into an interview and has a lot of questions that they want to know the answer to, they want to learn about what the opportunity is, who the company, what the company is about, who are the people that you're serving, and you can see it in people. And if you're curious, it takes you so far, because it means that you have this open mind and this desire and passion to learn.
And I think that's really important, because I think a lot of people our age go into an interview and they think that asking questions might be a perception of, oh, we can't hire this person because they don't know what they're talking about or about the job. I think a lot of people our age think, oh, when we go in to go get a job, we need to know everything about the company, everything about the position. But yeah, no, I think you're right in the fact that it's a curiosity factor, and I like your perspective on that.
Right, absolutely. I even had, a few years ago, someone I work for that now she's a mentor of mine, and I absolutely really love her. And I had been in this training class where you ask questions, and you ask questions to be able to either, to make a decision on something or move forward or take a stand on something. And so I had been trained in this way of asking questions. And she called it out in a meeting because I was asking a couple of questions. She's like, yes, keep asking questions. She's like, no one else asks questions except for Katie. Ask questions. And that made me feel so good that I wasn't being an annoyance. I was asking them in a way that was helping further the business or the conversation, not just kind of to ask to use my voice.
Well, on that note, what did you think of the questions we brought to the table today?
Your questions I absolutely love it. It made me remember that what I did in college, I always thought about being, when I was head of the social activities for my sorority, I always thought, okay, that's what led me to my first, part of my career was around events. But that's why, because they kind of are very similar. It made me realize when I was reflecting on the question is that it's also the way that I went about growing my career, is that I just jumped in. Because when I first got out of college, I did 3 different jobs. Some were part-time, one was during the day full-time, and it was about, jumping in and volunteering. I volunteered for the first AIDS walk in Seattle, which was just a cool experience because no one knew what we were doing. It was kind of a fun thing. I didn't know anything about it. And it just all to give me experience. And I didn't realize that's what I did in college, and that's what I did out of college as well to help me. Your question around culture is that's got to be the right fit. You can always create a job. The world changes around you, so your job changes. So if you have people around you that your values align and they inspire you and they coach you and help you develop as a person, I think that's what matters the most.
Well, Katie, again, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for speaking with us. And our viewers are really going to find a lot of value from this. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Katie.
Very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend as well. And we're really excited to see, what new things come from the role at Microsoft as well.
There's just some fun stuff coming. I know with all the transformation happening so quickly, it's going to be fun to watch what comes out in business and technology and transformation and all of that. But I'm excited to follow the 2 of you. This is awesome. You guys are so impressive that you're doing this. It's really smart.